everybody, it's Catherine here again from Continue the Magic with this week's news updates. So there's a few smaller ones I want to cover up front, and then I want to dig into some of the kids' summer activities that they've announced, and then really dig into the Disneyland 70th anniversary recent announcements that came out. So let's get to it. So the first thing is the new Florida resident ticket. So this is very similar to the previous one that they had. This is going to go from May 18th to September 27th. And at a 4-day park ticket, you can get them for $60 a day. So this is a really good price. If you're going to 3 days, it goes up to $75 and then continues to go up from there. So you're getting your best deal at that 4-day mark. But $60 a day for a ticket is a great price. So next, let's talk about fireworks. So if you're a big fireworks fan, you already know that they do a big fireworks display for July the 4th. At Magic Kingdom, they're going to do it both the 3rd and the 4th. At Epcot, it's going to be the 4th only. So you have Celebrate America at Magic Kingdom on the 3rd and 4th. And then you have Heartbeat of Freedom at Epcot on the 4th. So the reason you care about this now is that they've just opened up the dining packages for these nights. So if you want to do, say, a dessert party or a dining package to catch either of these and get your priority seating, you can book those as of now. So this is the 5th of May. As of today, both nights are open. So if you want those reservations, I recommend getting those in ASAP. So next is a change coming to early magic entry. I know what you want the change to be and that you want it to go to an hour in advance. Unfortunately, that is not the change that we're seeing, as much as I would love to see that as well. But what they are offering, and I think this is the first time I've heard of them doing this, is that they're going to be bringing in a specialty character meet and greets during that 30-minute window. So you still only get 30 minutes, but you get that extra Disney interaction. They haven't said whether it's going to be in specific areas or if they're going to be wandering around, but really cool that they're adding in that extra incentive to be able to go to the parks early in the morning, either rope drop or get some character time in up front. So the last of the quick news updates is about Disneyland Paris. So this is going from May 4th to May 24th, obviously in celebration of Star Wars Day, but they're bringing out 3 BDX units that are going to be in the parks for those 20 days. So I love that they each have their own personalities depending on their color. So our red unit is kind of the leader of the gang. You're going to see an orange unit who's the forgetful one. And then you have our sweet little green one who is kind of the more shy of the 3. So these are super cute. Can't wait to see videos of these coming out in the parks. Adorable. More droids in the parks. All over that. Okay, so now we can dig into some of the meteor news updates. So we're going to talk Cool Kids Summer. So this is going from May 27th to September 1st. And it's kind of to give more engagement to the kids while they're off for summer vacation. They're going to be closing Communicore Hall on May 12th for a quick switchover, and it's going to be a goofy takeover. So there's going to be a DJ and a dance party. They're going to do crafts and games in there. So I'm really excited to see what that space looks like when they've got that revamped. I love that they have this area that is constantly changing. I know they always change it for the festival, so it's nice to see them having a plan for that over the summer. Next, we're going to head over to Animal Kingdom. They're going to have a new Wilderness Explorers badge. And at Rafiki's Planet Watch, there's going to be a new crafts area that's about pollinators around butterflies and bees, so that should be super cute. And then the other interesting thing to see is you may have already seen him because he's already been wandering around Restaurantosaurus, but the Dino Intern is kind of a wandering improv musician. So they've been utilizing him in that restaurant, but they're going to be expanding that reach. So now he's going to be in Discovery Island at the end of the day so that you're going to get more experiences with him. So there'll be storytelling and music around the different animals in the Animal Kingdom. So that's a really neat addition. I love seeing more musicians, artists kind of wandering around in the parks. That's something that I've always loved about Disney, and it seems like they're really kind of digging back into that, which is fantastic to see. So over in Hollywood Studios, they're finally going to be making some better use of the animation courtyard. So they're going to be doing some games, arts and crafts, and some kind of performers coming in, such as magicians. So it's nice to see that they're using that space again. It's been pretty dull over there for a while. So with the reopening of a Little Mermaid show and then adding this in, it'll be really nice to see some life brought it back into that section of the park. And over at the Magic Kingdom, we're going to have 2 more dance parties because you can't get enough of the dance parties. So Pluto's going to be hanging out over in the Storybook Circus area with the DJ over there. And that is sticking with the circus theme. So there's going to be jugglers and stilt walkers over there. And then Stitch is obviously hanging out in Tomorrowland. So that stage is going to get some use and there'll be a party with Stitch over there. And then the other thing they're doing is at Merchant of Venus, they're going to have an arts and crafts table built around Elio. So lots of really cool things coming to the parks for the summer, lots of engagement for the kids, especially if you're an annual pass holder and you're not all about the rides all the time and you're there more frequently. This gives a lot of variety in the types of things and activities you can do with your kids. So really nice to see them branching that out. So now let's dig into what we really want to talk about in the exciting news, which is around Disneyland's 70th anniversary. So we've seen that the concept art for the sculpture that they're going to be putting up, this is kind of in the courtyard in between the entrance to Disneyland and the entrance to California Adventure. The construction walls have been up for a while. The structure was being built, but now because of the height of it, we're starting to get extra sneak peeks. So the stained glass has gone in, which means they are getting close. It looks very vibrant. I'm really excited to see how this turns out to see it in person, but it looks stunning so far. And then the big one, of course, is Walt Disney, A Magical Life. So this is opening up on July 17th, 2025, right on the anniversary of the opening date. And I can't wait to see what this looks like. So as far as the pre-show area, they're bringing in some new curated items, so furniture, artwork, all that kind of thing. They've found some designs, early designs of Disneyland, kind of version 1, version 2, that have never been seen before. So these are going to be on display there. They just found these. So that's really cool to see. It kind of transitions between the earliest concepts of Disneyland into something that's a little bit more with, you know, how it turned out and what we expect when we think of Disneyland. So that's all getting curated in. They're going to be bringing back in One Man's Dream. So this is a 15-minute documentary style film on Walt Disney, of course. It's been there before. It plays intermittently at Walt Disney World at Hollywood Studios. I personally love it. It's a really nice, quick retelling, obviously, of his story. But then to cap that all off, after the 15-minute video, you're going to go into Walt's office. So they're recreating his office, kind of a mix of what you see on TV and his actual office. And this is the first time we're ever going to have a Walt Disney animatronic. So you're going to get 2 minutes with Walt himself in his office. They went with the 1963 version of Walt. They kind of decided to do this because they thought it was a really exciting time in his life. So this is around the time that we're talking Mary Poppins is in the works. They're getting prepared for the 64 World's Fair. So a lot of those iconic rides are in development. And even the pre-planning for Epcot is already in the works. So I think it's a good choice. You know, it's a very iconic look for Walt. So it'll be great, and there'll be a lot of recordings that they can use around that time. So they will be using recordings of his own voice for the animatronic, so you get to hear the stories from Walt himself. And they say they're pushing all the limits on this animatronic, calling it their moonshots. So this is really pushing those boundaries of what an animatronic can do so that it can really capture the essence, the mannerisms, the flow of Walt. So this is not only great if you want to see that Walt animatronic, but it's also great just because of that development and that investment in kind of the product design and the discovery for that is obviously then going to feed into all of our attractions going forward. So these giant strides that they're making for this particular animatronic means amazing things for the rides going forward. So that's going to be epic to see. The other nice thing is if you were a fan of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, he is not going away. So they will be obviously predominantly showing Walt right when they do the initial launch, but what they've done is they've installed a rotating stage so that they can switch back and forth between the Walt presentation and Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. So you're not losing that. So there is going to be a new marquee out front showing that they're going to have 2 different shows available at that location. And they will start rotating through them throughout the day so that you can catch both of those. So a great way to honor Walt, to make sure that you're not tearing down, something that was so important to him and so groundbreaking for the company to keep Mr. Lincoln there. I think this is a really good balance of the two to bring it all together. So those are your news updates for the week of May 5th. I want to know in the comments below, what do you think of the era that they chose for this Walt animatronic? Do you think 1963 was a good way to go? Would you want to see earlier version of him kind of bootstrapping and getting started? Let me know what you think. And also make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. We're putting videos out every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll see you next week.